Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my granddad's spooky fireplace. So I thought that for my first video back in such a long time, I would do something spooky and talk about my spooky experiences. This is just a bit of a mic test really, because I just got this mic. It was £11 from Amazon. If you're interested, because my other mic was just making a weird sound, so this is just going to be like a mic test really. But I really wanted to do spooky stories because I love like campfire stories, and I fall asleep, like I'll put a horror movie on a night to fall asleep to, because it's just a comfort thing for me. So I know that's probably not going to be a lot of people's cup of tea, but it's something I felt compelled to do. Okay, so I did write a little list of my own personal spooky experiences. I do want to do like a little series of this. Maybe like this one can be like my own ones, and then I can do like ones that I've made up, or like write-ins, or ones that I've found elsewhere that sound spooky, but like cozy spooky, you know. So yeah, this is episode 1. So I think what I'll do is start off. I'll start off with the most spooky one, and then I'll work my way down to the least spooky one. Yeah, so like when you finish the video or whatever, you're not left on like the spookiest one. You know how sometimes if you watch a horror movie before bed, you need to watch something nice afterwards to be able to sleep, because you're a pussy. I don't do that. I fall asleep to the spooky stuff. It's probably a weird thing. Okay, so let me just get comfy. You get comfy too. Alright, so the first one that I'm going to choose is the time that I was at my nan's house. My nana, my grandmother on my dad's side, I just went into a residential care home, and she lived in this. It was 3 bedrooms and had a loft. It was absolutely like dropping a bit. It was so old, and my dad was actually born there, and all of his brothers. I think at the time he was like 55, and my nana had lived there like years and years before she had kids. So it was just this really old, spooky house. And in this little village where they lived, they still had like the bright orange street lights, like the really old-fashioned orange street lights. This is quite orange and warm, and I wanted to put it on, but it hasn't been turned on for like 20 years, so I don't want to blow. Also, I decided that I was gonna move into her bedroom. I only used to go there on the weekend, so I only stayed there like 2 nights a week. But I thought I'd like to be in her room as like a comfort thing, because I only had like the little bedroom, and the little bedroom had this weird like hatch on the wall. It was just like a hole, but it was like it had like a trim around the edge, like it was meant to be there. And on the other side of the wall, like in the corridor, there was this ominous like loft that I actually never looked into because it was screwed shut from the outside. So it wasn't like you could just easily hook it, or latch it or whatever and go in there. It was screwed shut for probably a very good reason, I'm guessing, because that house was definitely very, very haunted. I moved her bed around because she had it. It was like you walk in and there was a dresser on this wall, and then wardrobes there, and then a big massive window there, and then a walk-in wardrobe there, and then the bed was like here. So when you first walk in, the bed was like in front of you there. I wanted to have it so that the back of it was against the window, because I think I was just like rearranging things at the time. And I remember lying there, and like obviously I was sad about my nana going in home and stuff, and I was just like, thoughts were going through my head, and I remember just looking around and thinking this is so spooky and cozy, because it was those like blinds that go across like that, and they never really closed all the way like shut, because the little twisty thing was a bit dodgy. So there was just like lines of bright orange from the street lights outside all over, and I just laid in the bed, and I was just drifting off to sleep, and the bed went Like there was like a little drop in the bed, and obviously I shit myself. I think at the time I was about 12. I did a little investigation of my own, and it was one of the springs inside the bed had like the spring had gone or something like that. I wasn't fat at the time, it was just an old bed. I was kind of spooked magooked from that, even though I knew it was just a spring. And I was just laid there, and it was just as I started like drifting off and feeling like nice and sleepy and comfortable and like a bit floaty and stuff like that, that I heard these bags that I had behind our bedroom door start moving. Now, just for backstory, my nana's bedroom door had like a carpet underneath it that was really thick. I remember this carpet was the type of carpet that you can like put your toes, like when you walk on it, you can feel it in between your toes if you've got no shoes on. Really thick carpet, and the corner of it was actually like lifted up, so you had to like piss about to get it back open after you'd closed it fully. She never usually closed it fully, but I did this one night, and I just heard these bags rustling behind the door. And when I looked, because the door was like right at the end of the bed, the door was literally like, I would say like a third open, and I knew it was closed before, so I like shit myself, and I screamed of my dad, and then I dived forward to the light switch, because like although there was orange lines of light around the room, I couldn't really fully see. It was just like quite dull orange lines. I dived to get the light switch, and as I like fell off the end of the bed, because I just like sat up and just dived forward, I fell off the end of the bed and I was on the floor, facing the floor, and my head was like this far away from the door. It was like open inwards in the bedroom, and I put my hand up like that without even looking up to see if there was anything there. Switched the light on, and my dad like dived out of his bed, because obviously I'd been screaming. Dived out of his bed, and like obviously came to see what was going on, and there was nobody there. Went downstairs and like checked all the windows and the doors, and there was no way anybody could have got in. Ended up dragging my nana's mattress off her bed into my dad's bedroom and sleeping in there for the night. Now, after that had happened, my dad did start telling me little tidbit stories of like things that have happened in the past, where he would hear people going into his bedroom on a night and like trying to talk to him, and he would be like asleep and drowsy, so he'd be like what, and then when he'd like wake up, there was nobody there. So I was like, yeah, that's probably just like your dream juice is still in there while you're waking up, because that's happened to me before, where there's been like a little bit of dream juice left over, and I've thought someone's in here, and then I've thought, no, actually it's probably just the dream juice. But he is the biggest skeptic I know of like anything. Like he didn't trust the vaccine at first. Like he's just a big skeptic, and he said that he hated sleeping in there alone after my nana had moved out, because he lived with her to look after her. He hated sleeping in there alone, and he was a big ass grown man. He's still like, he is a big ass grown man. He's still here. So that tells me that the house was definitely haunted. It got demolished not long after this happened. So whether that was something to do with it just being an old house, or whether it was on top of an Indian burial site or something like that, I don't know. But that was a very spooky story. So this is a story from when I was in my third year of uni, and I was living in this massive 8-bedroom, 2-bathroom, had a basement, first floor with a bedroom, a living room, and a massive kitchen and an extension. Then it had a third floor, and then it had a fourth floor, and then it had an attic. So that's like a 5-story house. The basement wasn't like renovated or anything like that. It was just a concrete brick basement with like some ominous shit in there and a shopping trolley. And then the attic was like, it wasn't tall, like it wasn't a tall attic, it was like a crawl space, I'd say about like a metre tall or something like that. We did go in there. I was a bit drunk, but so I don't really recall. So this was around Christmas time, and I knew that a couple of my housemates had went home for Christmas. They'd all said what date they were leaving in the group chat, but I didn't really keep up with the group chat because it was just like a lot to keep So I think this night I was in my room taking OnlyFans pictures or something, and I so my room was like the biggest room, and it was at the front of the house, and just outside my door was uh like it wasn't like a spiral staircase. It was like you go up a set of stairs and then turn, and there's like three more stairs, and then you go on to the next floor, and then you walk around, and then you do the same. So it was like kind of a spiral staircase, but on the corridor the light just stayed on all the time. Like nobody ever bothered turning it off. I remember hearing people walking past my bedroom door, but like I was busy, so I wasn't like ready to socialise and open the door and say like, "Hey, let's have a combo," or whatever. I was like bollock naked, probably. I remember not being like someone's going past the door. I remember it just in my head like it's just a normal thing that I was used to hearing people going past my door. And I remember I think I'd stopped and I'd turned the music off and I was just sat on my bed going through my pictures, like choosing the best ones or whatever. And I just remember seeing, because my bed was like here and my door was at an angle here. It was like a square room, but then one of the corners was like a diagonal. I remember just looking down and seeing like two beams of light going under my door, an indication that something's stopping, like just the one beam of light coming under the door. And I remember looking down and then like shouting hello, like who's outside my room or whatever, and it not moving and like not hearing anything back. So I got up and I think I put like my dressing gown on or something because it was hanging on the back of the door. And when I opened the door, there was nobody there. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, someone's obviously trying to take the piss. So I closed the door, sat back on my bed, and then, like, I noticed the light again, and it was like a full, just like straight beam of light going under the door, just one long strip of light shining under the door. So, like, there's definitely somebody there. And, like, when you're in uni and you're with, like, living with your friends, you do stupid shit, like, you try and take the piss out of each other or whatever. So I was like keeping an eye on it, waiting for them to come back because I was gonna like jump out and scare them, whoever it was. And I just didn't see it. Kept hearing footsteps and that though, like in the house, just like above me, which was there was a massive bedroom above me. Footsteps up there, and like just different noises, like doors shutting, stuff like that. I then got a notification from the group chat from one of my housemates saying, "Who's still at the house? Like, will you just check that I've turned my TV and everything off?" And everybody replied saying, "I'm not, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not." And then one of the housemates was like, "I think Connor's the only one there." I have never shit myself so violently. I had to ring my boyfriend at the time and say, "Please, please come round. There's somebody in the house. I've been hearing them walking round. I've been hearing them open doors, close doors. They've been stood outside my bedroom." I'm getting chills all over because I'm in a spooky setting and this was a spooky time. I did not move out of my bed until the next day. My boyfriend couldn't come, useless, and I just didn't bother asking anybody else. I did not move out my bed till the next day, and let me tell you, I was dying for a wee wee. When I did move the next day, when it was like broad daylight but still spooky in this weird house, I went downstairs and checked the doors, the windows, everything like that. There was no chance anybody could have gotten in. Went down into the basement, and we used to joke that somebody was living in the basement because people's food used to go missing. Like, it's the type of shit that that happens, unfortunately, when you live with people. People steal your food, let me tell you that right now. And they don't own up to it because people are shitty in uni, right? I investigated every inch of that basement by myself. I'm so proud of myself for doing that because it was like a shitty little rickety staircase all the way down, and there was like always spiders everywhere, spiders' webs, and it was like a whitey blue light down there. It was like a different dimension. It was like proper spooky stuff. And it went, so you go down the stairs, there was like a big open space here, and then you go round the corner, and there was like this weird corridor that just went straight for a little bit, and then it turned this way, and then it went back straight again, and then it went round a corner, and then there was like a big pile of like rubble and stuff with about that much gap at the end of this little corridor, nobody in there. I mean, they could have potentially, however, I didn't like to think about it at the time. They could have potentially been on the other side of that rubble. But I'm glad I didn't think about that at the time. Right, the next one happened at my brother's house. I did say that I was going to start off with the spookiest one, but this is by far the spookiest thing that's ever happened to me, right? So I was staying at my brother's house, and he lived in it was like an army camp, but if you were married, you got a house given to you. So it was like a 3-bedroom house that him, his wife, and his new baby used to live in. And he used to tell us stories about like their friend had come round who was like a medium, and they'd done like a seance or whatever, or like a or like a what do you call it, where like mediums try and channel people, and their friend had channeled this old army guy. Obviously, it's like on an army camp. Old army guy with like a safari hat and what else was it? Like a water bottle around the neck or something, and just like in army clothes, like safari clothes. This one night, my brother and his wife had gone for a night out, and me, my stepdad, and my mum were staying in the house. We got a takeaway, and we were just looking after the baby. I was staying downstairs on the sofa. My brother and his wife were staying in their bedroom, and then my mum and stepdad were staying in the spare bedroom. But we didn't go to sleep till like midnight because the baby was up crying and stuff, and we were just like watching telly. I'd been asleep for a couple of hours, so it must have been like 3 in the morning, and I got up to go to the toilet. So I went up the stairs, and their house was laid out like you go up the stairs and then do a little turn, and then there's like another 2 steps, and it was the spare bedroom, their bedroom, and then you go like along a bit of a corridor, and there was my niece's bedroom. So it just had like a cot and like a little kid's wardrobe or whatever, and then next to that was the bathroom. So I crept up the stairs, being all quiet not to wake the baby up. As I got to the top of the stairs, my mum like crept behind the door and opened the door, and she was like, "Shh, don't wake the baby. I just got the baby to sleep." She always tells me to shut up, and I'm always creeping around everywhere. Anyways, so I walked past, just like, fuck off, whatever. I didn't say fuck off or she would have killed me. I was just like, whatever. So I walked past her, and I walked past my niece's bedroom, and I went to the toilet, and I did what I was doing in the toilet. And then as I was coming out of the toilet, I looked to my left, which was my niece's bedroom, right there, and the door was open, and the cot was like at the back of the room, and above the cot was a star-shaped, like nightlight thing. It was blue with like holes all in it, and it was like this really orangey, dull like nightlight. My mum was stood there, and she was like, "Shh, shh," like that, like waving me to go past. And as I went, like creeping along the corridor, my mum opened the door. My mum opened the bedroom door and said, "Go away, the baby." And I just stood there, and I froze, and I was like, "You've just told me to shush in the baby's bedroom. How have you ended up here?" And she was like, "What are you on about? Shut up and go back downstairs." I was like, "No, please come in here with me, because there's somebody in that bedroom standing over the baby's cot and shushing me as I'm going past." We both crept along the landing and crept our heads round the corner of the baby's bedroom, and there was nobody in there. My mum went in, and she like checked the baby and like looked around. There was nobody in there. There was nobody in there. There was nobody in there. Looked in the bathroom. There was nobody in there, and there's no way that somebody could have got past me and got out of the house without them passing me on the corridor. And they couldn't have went into the bathroom and went down a set of stairs or jumped out of the window, because the bathroom was like just a little window with like a little tiny bit at the top that opens. It's actually making me feel a bit queasy, because I distinctly remember them having looked like a shower cap on their head, and me thinking at the time that my mum was wearing a shower cap to try and like pacify the baby or whatever. It was just laid there. It wasn't my mum, because she was coming out of the bedroom. I will never get over or forget how scared I was in that moment, having seen somebody stood there over my niece's cot and tell me to shush. I'm going to have to move on to lighter stories now because I'm spooking myself out. I definitely misjudged the spookiness level of these stories because they just seem to be getting like even more spooky. I don't know if I've freaked myself out or what, but this next story happened when I lived in my first ever flat of my own. It was my first time living completely by myself with no flatmates. I was always on FaceTime to people. I always had people over when I lived in this flat. I don't know what it was. There was just a weird vibe to it, even though it was like a fairly new flat block. I think just because it didn't get a lot of direct sunlight, or it was just the fact that I didn't see anybody out in the corridors ever, or I didn't hear anybody passing by. It just felt like I was the only one living there in this massive flat block. I mean, on Grindr, there was a few people who were on there that I knew lived there, but I didn't bump into any of them because not long after moving in, I got into a relationship. This particular night, I was home alone. My boyfriend was out with his friend, smoking and driving, and said he was coming round about like 10 or 11ish. This must have been about 9 o'clock, and it was like winter time, so it was dark outside, spooky vibes. It was foggy as well, I remember that. And I had this one night got a wig and I'd styled it, and I'd done drag queen makeup. I'd went and got some pound shop makeup, and I'd done a drag queen makeover on myself, and I FaceTimed my drag queen friend for her critiques. And so I was stood in my bathroom, and whenever I'm on the phone to this particular friend, if she hears somebody in the background and she knows them, she'll say like, "Oh hiya," like Matthew, or like if I'm on FaceTime and she sees somebody in the background, she'll say, "Oh hi," like Sarah, Matthew, whatever. Matthew's not my ex's name. We use the code name Matthew for this. So as I'm standing there and I'm saying, like, she's saying like, the eyebrows could be a little bit better. You could do it like this to do it better. The hair's like a little bit, you could have backcombed it a bit more, but like this looks good and this looks good. And then she was like, "Oh hi Matthew," and I'm stood in the bathroom, and if you like, so my phone was on the little shelf above like the sink and the toilet, and the mirror was right there. And if I'm looking like behind me in the mirror, I can see right through to like the back wall of my bedroom. And I was like, "What you on about? Like, Matthew's not here." And I just checked on his snap maps to see where he was, not in a psycho way or like a possessive way. I just wanted to know whereabouts he was to see what time he was gonna come by, and he was like a good hour away in the car. So I knew that it wasn't him. So I was like, "Matthew's not here," and she was like, yes, he's in the bedroom. I've just seen him." And I was like, "There's nobody in the bedroom, darling." I thought she was like taking the piss at first, and she was like, "Right, don't panic. Get a bottle, get a knife, get something you can use as a weapon, because there's somebody in the bedroom. I've just seen them." I'm getting chills again. I'm like, "You're a pussy because you have to watch something cute to go to sleep to, and I don't, because I fall asleep to horror films. But these are my like real life spooky experiences, and I'm freaking myself out." So I was like shouting my boyfriend's name because I thought maybe his snap maps was wrong and maybe he'd come back early. No reply. So I went into the bedroom and there was nobody there. I looked in all of the wardrobes, behind the door. I looked under the bed, even though there wasn't even enough crawl space to like get under the bed. I looked under it anywhere, behind the curtains. I looked in my whole flat, checked my door. It was locked and I only had one door to get in and out. Checked all the windows. Nobody there. And drag queen friend is known for like playing jokes like this, and she was like, "No, like genuinely, I saw somebody walk from one side of the bedroom to the other. They had brown hair. Like, my boyfriend at the time didn't have brown hair." She was like, "I thought it must have just been him, and he must have dyed his hair." And I was like, "Fuck." So I just took myself out for a danger walk and waited for my boyfriend at the time to come home. so that I wasn't alone in the flat. And I told him, and he was like, "It's just drag queen, insert drag queen friend's name here. It was just drag queen friend taking the piss." But she genuinely looked startled when I told her that there was nobody there. So that was quite spooky. And I did sleep in that flat on my own a lot of nights and felt like there was nobody else in the whole building, and never really felt like anything weird happened. However, there was a couple of times that I woke up on a morning and my boyfriend would go to work. Boyfriend at the time would go to work quite early on the morning, and I would still be like, I wouldn't have to get up till later on. So he would be up and getting ready in the bedroom, like putting his clothes on, or he'd go in the shower and then he'd pop back in and out of the bedroom, or I'd be like in the flat having his breakfast and stuff. There was a couple of times when I would wake up on a morning and I would hear, like somebody in the flat like pottering about, and I would just assume it was him, and then I'd realise like actually he didn't stay over last night. But I just like, when it comes to like panic attacks and stuff, because I've had to work on myself with my panic attacks and anxiety that much, that I just have to like switch that thought off in my brain. When it comes to like, I just have to like delete that memory, delete that thought out my head before it gets too bad. Otherwise, I will just go on a panic session for a long time. So I potentially could have been living with, and I can't even say spooky things because every little thing out the corner of my eye is fucking freaking me out. And there's really spooky pictures of old people on a big old-fashioned dresser over there. Next time I do this series, I'm gonna have to do it in front of that dresser. I mean, rest in peace to my granddad's family members, but the really old-fashioned pictures, and I feel like they're looking at me. This happened. The thing, like the name that I like wrote for it is the Loft Hatch at Grandma's. This happened in this house where I am right now. So what happened was, I was a child. There's a picture of me when I was a kid over there. I'm going to show you. I wasn't quite this young. I think I must have been about, I was probably like 10, 9, 10. This one night I remember my brother and his girlfriend were just like hanging about. Like they were just in and out the house for some reason, just like they must have just been bored or whatever. I remember my grandma putting me to bed about like 9 o'clock, like early-ish, and just hearing them like going in and out. And I remember I must have drifted off to sleep when I woke up, because this was in the spare bedroom, and if you laid on the bed, the loft hatch was like right above the bed, but to the left a little bit, like next to the door. I remember waking up and the loft hatch being like moved. It was like lifted up and slid along, and I remember just waking up and staring into this gap where the loft hatch was open, and staring into this dark, black, ominous like loft. And I swear I remember like hearing, I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. I remember hearing, it was like two people were like whispering between each other. I'm getting chills. My whole body is keeps being Billy. Yeah, I remember hearing like, and then maybe like screaming the house down, like right the bedroom door open, and running downstairs to my grandma, and like they're like, oh, what's happened? Came up to the bedroom to investigate, saw that the loft hatch was open, and my grandma was like, it's just a spider. He lives up there. He's really friendly, and he just wanted to come down and get a drink of water. Like she made up this story about this pet spider who like would never hurt anyone or anything. I remember my brother saying to his girlfriend, like whispering it, but I could hear, saying like, I've told you this house is haunted as fuck, and this house is haunted as fuck. Like the amount of times weird things have happened here is ridiculous. But that was the most prominent one, I think. Touch wood. I don't like want anything else to happen tonight. I mean, my grandma used to say that it's not the living, it's not the dead that hurt you, it's the living. And she used to say, like, if she was walking from the kitchen to the living room with a snack, and the door would like be moving behind her as she was walking in, she'd be saying like, "Oh, come in, like, sit down, have a snack with me, let's have a catch up," type of thing, like making light of it. But that's from every horror film I've seen about ghosts. That's one thing that you don't do: invite them in. And she used to do it all the fucking time, so it's no wonder that I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to leave it at that. I just heard a little rustling in the kitchen, and there's nobody in there. These houses, like my mum's house, does it as well. They've been here longer than I've been around, and they still, on a night, like, hear cracks and bangs, and it's the like the roof, like relaxing on a night, or like the heat, the temperature changing in the attic makes like things crack and bang. Like you'd think it would have settled down by now. They've been here like 30 years, but still they're very creaky, knocky, creepy houses. And this house is particularly one of the creepier ones because, like I said, it's like a time capsule. Nothing's changed here apart from the carpets in the past like 25 years. All haunted furniture probably, but I'm going to leave it there. I'm trying to think of something nice to leave you on so that you don't leave this video all spooked out. I can think of one I haven't had from you in a long time. A nice snug, so I'm going to give you a kiss and say good night, love you. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm now off to hide under my quilt because these are all my stories, so it feels a lot more real than watching a horror film. But let me know if you enjoyed these spooky stories, and if you want me to do any more. It's coming up to Halloween, so I like spooky things, and Halloween's my favourite time of year, so I want to do more spooky things. So let me know if you want to see more spooky things. Okay, love you. Bye.